happens when you breathe? I mean, really thought about it? It's so much more than just air in, air out. It's this incredible high-speed journey that powers every single cell in your body. We do this about 20,000 times a day without even noticing. So let's do something different. Let's follow one single breath on its amazing trip, from the air all around us right down to the tiny little factories inside our cells.
Here's the plan for our trip. First, we'll clear up the difference between breathing and respiration. They're not the same thing. Then, we'll look at the full 5-step roadmap of the whole process. After that, we'll start the journey. From the moment air enters your nose, down the windpipe, and finally into the incredible exchange zone.
All right, first things first. Let's tackle breathing versus respiration. They sound like they could be interchangeable, right? But in biology, one is the physical motion, and the other, well, that's the whole point of the exercise.
Okay, so here's the breakdown. Breathing is the easy part to understand. It's purely physical, the mechanics of your chest moving, pulling air in, pushing it out. Think of it like the delivery truck. But respiration, that's the why. That's the biochemical magic happening inside your cells, where they use that oxygen to burn food and create energy, or ATP. So one's the delivery, the other is actually using the package.
So now that we've got that straight, let's zoom out and look at the big picture. This is the entire 5-step journey that gets oxygen from the outside world all the way into your cells. See, it's a chain reaction, a perfect relay race. Step 1 is breathing, getting the air in. Step 2, external respiration, is the first handoff. Oxygen jumps from your lungs into your blood. Step 3, transport, is the blood cruising around your body with its precious cargo. Step 4, internal respiration, is the second handoff. Oxygen hops from the blood into your tissues. And finally, Step 5, cellular respiration, the finish line. This is where your cells actually use that oxygen to power up. All right, roadmap memorized? Good. Let's begin the actual journey. We're following that breath of air as it takes its first step into your airway. So, the trip begins at your nostrils. But don't be fooled. Your nasal cavity is way more than just a tunnel. It's a sophisticated air treatment plant. The walls are full of blood vessels that warm the air up to body temperature, like a perfect little heater. You've got olfactory cells in there that let you smell things, obviously, and special glands produce mucus that acts like sticky flypaper, trapping dust and germs before they get any further. You know that little dangly thing at the back of your throat, the uvula? Well, it's not just for decoration. It has a super important job. It's a gatekeeper. When you swallow, it swings up and blocks the path to your nose, making absolutely sure that your lunch goes down the right pipe and not up into your nasal passages. Simple, but brilliant.
Okay, our air is now warmed, humidified, and cleaned. It's ready for the next leg of the journey, a trip down the superhighway to the lungs.
Right at the entrance to this highway is your larynx, or as we all call it, the voice box. It's this complex little structure made of 9 pieces of cartilage. And it has another gatekeeper, the epiglottis. This flap slams shut when you swallow, protecting your airway. And the biggest piece of cartilage here, the thyroid cartilage? Well, in males, that's what you know as the Adam's apple.
Now, inside the larynx, you actually have 2 pairs of vocal cords. The upper ones are called false vocal cords because, well, they don't really do anything for sound. But the lower pair, the true vocal cords, they're the rock stars. They vibrate when you breathe out, and that vibration creates your voice. And why are male voices deeper? It's just physics. Testosterone makes their cords thicker and longer, so they vibrate more slowly, producing a lower pitch.
This is one of my favorite parts of biological design. It's so clever. Your trachea, or windpipe, is held open by these rings of cartilage. But notice, they're C-shaped, not full circles. Why? Because right behind your windpipe is your esophagus. This C-shape leaves a soft, flexible spot at the back, so your esophagus can expand when you swallow a big bite of food. Genius, right?
At the bottom, the trachea splits in 2, into the primary bronchi. And from here, it just keeps splitting, like the branches of a tree getting smaller and smaller. We go from primary to secondary to tertiary bronchi, and finally, down to the tiniest little twigs, the bronchioles, which lead us right to our destination.
Now here's a fun little quirk of anatomy. The 2 main branches aren't identical. The right bronchus is wider, shorter, and points downwards more sharply than the left. And this actually matters. If you accidentally inhale something you're not supposed to, like a peanut, there's a much higher chance it'll end up in your right lung, because it's basically a more direct path.
After traveling down that incredible branching network, our breath has finally arrived. We are at the end of the line. This is the exchange zone. This is where the magic happens.
It's where the oxygen we've carried all this way finally gets to meet the bloodstream.
Get ready for this number. 300 million. That is roughly how many of these tiny balloon-like air sacs, called alveoli, are packed into your lungs. An absolutely staggering number.
And what do you get when you have 300 million tiny balloons? You get a massive surface area. If you could somehow flatten out all your alveoli, they would cover about 80 square meters. That's about the size of a singles tennis court. You have a tennis court folded up inside your chest, all to maximize how much oxygen you can absorb. That is 40 times the surface area of your skin.
Wow.
So who's running this massive exchange surface? You basically have two types of specialized cells, a dedicated workforce. The type 1 cells are the main laborers. They're super thin and flat, perfect for letting gases pass through. But the type 2 cells have a different, but just as vital job. They produce a substance called surfactant.
So what on earth is surfactant? Think of it like a thin layer of detergent coating the inside of every one of those 300 million tiny balloons. This coating breaks the surface tension of the fluid in there, which does two absolutely critical things. It stops the alveoli from collapsing when you breathe out, and it stops them from stretching too much when you breathe in. Without it, breathing would be incredibly difficult. Now looking at the lungs themselves, they're not identical twins. Your right lung is a bit bigger and heavier, and it's divided into 3 lobes. The left lung is smaller, with only 2 lobes. And why is that? Well, the left lung has to make room for its very important neighbor. It has a little indentation called the cardiac notch, which is a custom-fit spot for your heart to nestle into.
And of course, all of this delicate, life-sustaining machinery is kept safe inside an airtight vault, the thoracic cavity. It's protected by a complete bony cage. You've got your vertebral column in the back, your sternum in the front, the ribs wrapping around the sides, and the powerful diaphragm muscle forming the floor of the chamber.
And there you have it, the incredible journey of a single breath through filters, heaters, highways, and a massive exchange zone. So I'll leave you with this final thought. The surface area our body dedicates to getting air from the environment is 40 times larger than our skin, the surface we use to interact with the rest of the world. What does that incredible difference in scale tell you about what our bodies truly prioritize